I know firsthand as a mom that as August hits, everyone is thinking back to school mode. But I also know as a pediatric dietitian that this is a really busy time of year for families, not only with changing our routine and our rhythms back to the school year, but also in getting prepared for the school year. And so last year, I did a series of episodes talking about some of my favorite lunch packing supplies, again, as a mom, but also through the lens of being a pediatric dietitian where I have access and I have personally sampled so many more lunch packing supplies than the average mom. I want to share some of that information with you to help save you the expense of having to buy lunch boxes, lunch bags, and the different lunch packing items that maybe aren't your best investment, but also help you think through some of the criteria that I've lived and learned through myself with my own kids and with the hundreds of families that I have worked with. So I want to spend today's episode recapping what I would consider your top 5 lunch packing essentials for back to school. Depending on how much you spend on each, you really can get all of these for under $50 per kid, particularly if you capitalize on the back to school sales that are happening for most of these items right now. However, for some of the items, you may be spending upwards of $100 total, but that you'll see where the variance really comes in as we talk through it in this episode, because particularly as we talk about bento boxes, there could be a big swing in how much you're spending there. But the one year that you buy it will be your more expensive year. And then the years to follow, you won't have to spend as much once you have some of those lunch packing supplies. So I'll get into the ins and outs of this and share with you some of the things that we've bought once and used year after year, and some of the things that we find are self-replacing more often. But I want to go ahead and recap that so you know the top 5 things that I would prioritize investing in this school year.
Hey Mama, I'm Ashley, and welcome to the Veggies and Virtue podcast. In this podcast, you will find simple menu ideas, kitchen organizational systems spelled out for mom life, and feeding tips and tricks that are both evidence-based and grace-laced. I believe that you can find flexibility when it comes to feeding your family so that you can feel calm, capable, and connected in the kitchen. As a registered dietitian and Christian mom of 3 myself, I want you to break free from the mealtime battles and to feel equipped while feeding your kids all day long. Pull up a stool at my kitchen counter and let me pour you a cup of coffee and say a quick prayer for you. It's time to chat about the meal times, messes, moments, and ministry of motherhood.
This is a unique year for us because if you've followed over on Instagram, I've shared how we're enrolling our oldest 2 in a university model program. So the girls will go to school 2 days a week and they'll be home, and I'll be homeschooling them the other 3 days a week. Owen will be in like a bridge pre-K program at the preschool that we've known and loved for a while this year. So it'll be a little bit of a transition in our lunch packing situation. Will this change a little bit? I'll still be packing every day for Owen, but for the girls, we'll still kind of be sorting out what that looks like. But with that, thankfully, I didn't need to buy anything this year because whether they were going to full-time school and we were packing every day, or they'll be home and we'll be eating in our kitchen other days, the nice thing is we have already invested in advance in so many of these things, not just as a family, but also professionally. I'm trying out all these items to help you guys make this decision a little bit simpler. So one of the things that is definitely going to help make your lunch packing life a little simpler is if you have my lunch packing printable. This is just a free printable. It's going to give you a month's worth of ideas of different fruits, vegetables, proteins, carbs, added fat, aka added fuel that you could be adding to your child's lunchbox. Now, this could be something like a bento box. This might be something that you're putting in Ziplocs. However you want to pack this up, this is going to help take some of the mental fatigue out of lunch packing. And I know for a lot of us, we may start the first week or 2 feeling like, okay, I got this. Lunch packing feels fresh, new. We have the energy for it. But any mom who has packed lunches in a school year before knows that energy tends to wane, especially as we get week after week into the school year. So make sure that you scroll down on the show notes, you click the link for the free lunch packing printable, and you can get that download to print, post on the fridge, keep handy to help you come up with some really simple lunch packing ideas. Now, for the purposes of this episode, I'm not going to say that there is only one right way to pack a lunch, because if you're someone who typically buys more prepackaged item and tosses them in a lunch tote, if your child predominantly buys school lunches or has meals provided at, say, their daycare or preschool, or maybe you've historically used Ziplocs or a Tupperware or whatever type of container works for you at your home. If it's a system that works for you, by all means, don't feel that you need to start the school year with a new approach that might feel overwhelming. I want to share with you what I find to be the best investment because it is something that I feel a true ROI on as the school year goes on, not only in provoking new ideas and adding variety, in minimizing food waste, in helping conserve our food budget, and just a lot of different avenues that pay out over time. But this is just something that has really worked. So I want to share with you, if I were to spend $50 to $100 per child starting from scratch, again, some of this you'll be able to keep year after year. Much of this you should be able to keep year after year. These are the items that I would be investing in for my children's lunch packing supplies. And the starting point for this is really, where is your priority or where is your biggest expense going to be? Because no matter what your budget is, if you are looking at, say, spending $50 and you maybe already have some ice packs or water bottle or some of the items that I'll mention, but you're looking for a bigger system, say like a bento box, that's going to be the biggest price point that you have to cover. So I would say start with what your priority area is. If you feel like the Tupperware or Ziplocs or whatever you're using is already working for you and you don't want to really consider bento boxes at this point in time, then maybe listen to the following 4 things that I share. But because a bento box tends to be the biggest investment a family will make in their child's lunch packing supplies, that's the place that I would start, because that will help kind of direct your budget accordingly. You can have a stainless steel bento box in the range of like $50, or you can find some of these plastic reusable bento boxes for as low as $12 to $15. So there's really a wide swing in the price point of the bento boxes. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of each and every bento box, my preferences, the pros and cons of each, which ones we use, things like that, because I've gone over that in previous episodes. If you want more info on the bento box specifically that I like, I'd encourage you to go to episode 52, where I talk about some of the bento boxes that dietitians like best. And then in episode 53, I talk about the bento boxes and kind of how they rate and rank from the perspective of which ones are the most kid-friendly, specifically if you have toddlers with little hands and forming fine motor skills who might need a little help, like opening up a lunchbox or items like that. Those that I consider the easiest to clean, the most affordable, the most versatile, the most durable, all of those kind of factors you can find out in episode 53. They're still the ones that we're going to be using and rotating through this year. But I want you to consider a bento box in general as an upfront investment. Because if you're used to using Ziplocs, it's really easy to just kind of lump that in with our grocery budget. It just goes in the cart when we're at the store, and we don't really realize the added expense. And depending on where you're at with finding things that are more sustainable products, we sometimes can just overlook the waste that we're producing by packaging lunches in this type of container each and every day. So I consider a bento box to be the number one best item for lunch packing. And again, that's coming from 8 years of experience and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families that I have helped, whether they have picky eaters or they want their kids to start packing their own lunches, or they need to delegate the duty to someone else, prep them the night ahead. However families may struggle or stress about lunch packing, bento boxes have been something that I find is an affordable and effective solution. So I would encourage you to prioritize the cost of that first, and definitely go listen to episodes 52 and 53 if you want more info on specifically what bento box I would recommend depending on what you are looking for.
But I think having your upfront cost of what your biggest item is, and honestly where your priority is. If you maybe have a bento box from last year, so that's not where you need to invest in this year, then your biggest cost may be in, this year we're going to invest in replacing water bottles. Second, we love the simple modern kids water bottles. They have so many cute designs. I've linked a lot of these on my back to school or a lunch packing favorites list on my Amazon shop. And these are by far my favorite water bottles. We've tried, it feels like hundreds over the years, between just my kids and their preferences. And also as a registered dietitian, I'm often curious about a lot of different cups and styles and straw
dynamics and things like that. And so we've tried many, but these simple moderate ones are great. They have them in a 10, a 14, and an 18 ounce size. Last year for school, we sent the 14 ounce size. That seems sufficient for our kids, but this summer we got the 18 ounce and have loved it for the summer because they are stainless steel water bottles and they have a hard lid on the top versus like one of the like softer spouts, like a Camel Pack like lid would have. I like that from an oral motor like development perspective, that it is a hard spout. However, it does make the water bottle a little bit more heavy. And so depending on the age of your child, I would just encourage you to make sure that this, if it's too heavy of a water bottle for them to carry or, too clunky for them to refill, or, just makes their little backpack on their little body too cumbersome, you might want to err on like the 10 ounce size and just make sure that, they know how to refill it if and when they need to at school. So that simple, modern kids water bottle, all the cutest designs for literally every style. If you're into like muted neutral tones, they have ones for you. If your kid's into, Paw Patrol and Mickey and like the character thing, they have those. If you like more kind of generic ones of trucks or oceans or mermaids or unicorns, they have literally every one. And so my kids have yet to find one that they don't love, and we can, keep them really clear between the kids and put a label on them, which gets me into our third favorite of labels. For kids going back to school, you have to have some labels that you like and that are functional for your family. Depending on the needs of your family and how many items you have to label and things like that, you may find different options. What we have used since my oldest was an infant are Mabel's labels. I love Mabel's labels. I've shared them multiple times over the years, and they're just one that have been tried and true for us. I know that over the last 8 years, a lot of other companies have come to market since Mabel's labels, but I really like them as a company. I've had the opportunity to work with them several times, and I think they're just a phenomenal company. I think their labels are excellent. They don't, wipe off in between washes or in the dishwasher. They are very, very durable. Rarely do we have to replace them. You can put them on clothes and shoes and backpacks and other things. But for the context of this episode, they're great. They have, some of the water bottle, like little rings, those little silicone rings with the kid's name on it that you can wrap around the water bottle now. Or they have the more traditional labels that you can also, stick on their bento box, on their lunch bag, on their water bottle, anything like that. And that is definitely one of our favorites and something that we'll be using for my kids this year as well. Mabel's Labels also often does back to school sales, so definitely check out their site. And if you want to use my coupon code, you can use VEGGIES, VEGGIES 10 for 10% off. And I also have that linked on my shop page. So you can go to veggiesandvirtue.com/shop and scroll to the bottom and you'll see all my affiliate codes.
The fourth item I think is essential for your back to school lunch packing success is the bag. Not only the lunch tote bag, but also any reusable bag that you may be choosing to use for snacks and things. So I'm going to kind of piggyback and do, if I can, a 4A, 4B and kind of cheat, make this my sixth most favorite. But really, knowing that you may or may not need a new lunch bag each year. Some families want to get the new matching backpack and matching lunch bag each year. Our family tends to love Land's End and Pottery Barn. The quality is really good quality. My kids have been able to use them year after year. Of course, my kids want new ones every year, but in terms of a durability standpoint, we can use, like for Owen, for example, we've been using the same backpack and lunch bag for him all through preschool. And so when he does get to kindergarten, we'll get a new one. But it's going on 4 years strong. It's Pottery Barn backpack. My girls, it was the same situation for them in preschool. They were able to use the same Land's End backpack all throughout preschool. So you may choose to pick a lunchbox according to whatever backpack you pick. You also might be choosing a lunchbox based off of the bento box dimensions that you're having. So definitely before you buy a lunch bag, and especially before you embroider one, if that's something that you like to do. We live in the South. Everyone loves to embroider stuff here. So while if you don't want to use the Mabel's Labels and you embroider it, make sure that you know your lunch tote is going to fit your bento box before you make it anything personalized, anything permanent, because a lot of the different boxes, or I should say bento boxes, don't necessarily fit in different lunch bags. I share more insight about this on episode 52 and 53 when I talk about the specifics of different bento boxes. But in general, I find that the Pottery Barn and the Land's End bags that, as I've mentioned, those are usually the backpacks that we buy. They fit your typical Yum Box, Bent Go Box, things like that. If you're getting into something that has larger dimensions, always look at the dimensions, look at the specifications that are stated on whatever bento box you're buying, see what those dimensions are, and then cross-reference them to the lunch bag that you're planning on buying. Or if you know someone that has that lunch box, see if you can borrow it and try and fit it in a bag. Ask them which lunch tote they use, because it can truly honestly be an added stressor rather than something that just makes your life easier. I know that firsthand from when we bought our Planet box, for example. It's a larger stainless steel one, and it did not fit in any of my kids' lunch boxes. So we ended up having to use like a larger lunch sleeve because I didn't necessarily want to buy the Planet box tote that went with it. And so just something to be considerate of. If you already have a lunch tote, something I do think is money well spent is reusable bags. These can be the silicone ones like the Stasher brand I have and I share often. I really like them. I don't tend to send those ones to school with my kids just because they are a little bit more expensive. And quite honestly, I don't trust them to always come home with my kids. We have, last year, I feel like we burned through more of our Bumpkins reusable bags. They're really easy to wash. I should probably do an episode just about how to wash these because I do get a lot of questions about that. They're really simple to wash in the washing machine or in the dishwasher. And they're just a reusable option that, again, is more sustainable, but also much more cost effective than burning through individual plastic baggies each and every time for snack. And it helps save money on not buying prepackaged snack foods, but can kind of help you pack a combination of things in there or, different portion sizes of it according to what your child might need or the snack requirements that their school may have. So definitely make sure that you get a lunch tote that fits your bento box and or some reusable snack bags. You could be packing things like a sandwich or something like that in it if you weren't packing that in your bento box. But for sure, I find the reusable bags being a big help when it comes to snack time.
The fifth and final thing that, kind of wraps it up pretty easily and obviously is the ice packs. I have these saved in my Amazon shop as well, the ones that we have been using year after year. They're really economical. They're really slim. They just fit in. Again, there's obviously many different options. These are just ones that have worked for us. They've been tried and true for years. We haven't had to replace them except for as we add kids, we have to buy more because we need more lunch, or we need more ice packs for the greater quantity of lunches that we're packing. But outside of these are just some really slim ones that I get on Amazon, and they're normally about $5 to $10 depending on what the price point is when you buy. And so between the 5 favorites that I've mentioned of a bento box, for us, that's the Planet Box Rover, a simple modern water bottle, a set of Mabel's labels that works for the items that you need, a lunch tote to fit the bento box and or maybe the water bottle, and an ice pack, you should easily, especially if you capitalize on these back to school sales, you should easily be under $100 per lunch packing set. And again, that's a higher upfront cost right now. But coming from me and the experience I've had as a mom and as a dietitian, this is a cost that continues to pay for itself day after day, week after week, month after month, and especially year after year, as these are really quality products that will also help cut down on your food waste and help you to kind of think about your own shopping habits as well, so that you're not spending as much at the grocery store when it comes to actually packing these lunches.
It has been a joy having you on the podcast today. And if you've enjoyed it as well, I have a quick favor to ask. Do you mind hopping over to Apple Podcasts and leaving me a written review? This will only take you a hot second, but it truly blesses me every time I get to read what one of you write over there, and it allows me to bless others through this podcast and the episodes to come. The other thing that you can do is to take a screenshot of this episode and tag me over on Instagram at Veggies and Virtue. I would love to see what action steps that you're taking from this episode and also to support your family in the journey moving forward. Until next time, thanks for coming over to chat at my kitchen counter. Remember that you will always have a seat and a snack waiting for you here.